Let us review the implications of Trump's being found guilty. He was found guilty of 34 charges. Hapa ndio kuna kizungumkuti. 34 charges. It means that if he were to be found guilty of one charge, it is no different from being found guilty of 2, 3, 4, even to 34. So he was fighting 34 different accounts, and he was supposed to, even 33 was not enough. He was supposed to be found not guilty for all the 34. Another thing is that he had to convince. There were 12 members of the jury, 7 men and 5 women. He was supposed to convince at least 7 members for each of the counts. They went and stated count number 1. So the jury, if the jury gets 7 or more on one side or the other side, then whichever side they have decided, it goes. But the bad luck about him is that not only was he found guilty of the 34, all of them, but all of them, it was unanimous. For example, if he were to get 8 against 4, or even 9 against 3, it would have given some doubt. But all the 34, all the 12 jurists found him guilty. What is now, I've already uploaded a video where I'm saying that there is a difference between impeachment and trial. Impeachment is trying somebody who is in the office. Remember, he is not in the office. And this is a criminal trial. There is 3 more coming. Now, Nikubaya. Where we are now is before sentencing. We expect 3 reports. The first report we expect is mitigation from him. After he has presented mitigation, there is the prosecution side. Of course, prosecution side will always demand for maximum sentencing. And then there is this social welfare people, religious, whatever. These people will also have to put into presentation. There is, in any trial, there is usually consideration from those people. For example, a psychiatrist can come and say that you committed the crime when your father had just died, so whatever. He can also, social service people can also say, for example, if you have been convicted of murder, they can say that if you are released in less than 10 years, it may be even dangerous to you because relatives and friends, neighbors of the deceased may still be. So the judge, before presenting, he or she will listen to the conflicting sides to know whether there is anything tangible before sentencing the accused. So after mitigation, the sentencing day is 5 days before the GOP, Grand Old Party, which also is also called the Republican. So 5 days after the GOP has held its convention is when, so basically it means that when the GOP meets, they will need to bring up another candidate, because he can only appear on ballot paper if he has appealed all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. Remember, he was jailed by the New York State, And New York State, it was just a high court. He has to appeal to the Supreme Court of the New York State. From there, he will have to appeal to the Supreme Court of the USA. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is safe to say that his political ambition, especially being the president, has gone. That is, he has died. You'll remember, and I uploaded that in an earlier videos, every candidate from the Republican Party who was terminating his or her campaign, they used to say that they are suspending their campaign. They are suspending their campaign, meaning that this thing has been there in theory for over 100 years. But for the first time ever, it has come practical. What I mean is, all these candidates, and the last one was a lady, she said that she's postponing she was suspending her campaign. This is a legal lacuna where a candidate says that should there be a problem, let's say the candidate who is going to be there dies before he or she nominates a running mate. You know, if you die and you have a running mate, the running mate will be the presidential, isn't it? But this one, they have been saying that they have suspended their campaign, meaning that since he was the only one who was still there and now has been stopped, the next step of action would be that all the candidates are now free to state that they are back in contention. If you look at the recent opinion polls, they were saying that so many Americans were tied up in two candidates that they did not like. They did not like Biden and they did not like Trump. So they said that if these political parties bring other candidates, it is quite possible. So it is too soon for Biden to celebrate, because GOP or the Republican can nominate another candidate, and people may vote for that candidate, him or she, not because him or she are known, not even him or she is popular, but just as a protest vote. Has it ever happened in Kenya? Yes, it has happened in Kenya. The current governor for Makueni, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., his sister was to be a candidate for the senatorial seat for Makueni after their father, Mutula Kilonzo, died. But some people took her to court, and it was discovered that she was not fit to contest, because when the general elections were held, she had not registered. She registered after the general election. So it was that the people who voted in the last election were to be given another permission. She was therefore a stranger in that county. So she was barred by the courts. And the party, the Wiper Party, asked for an opportunity to choose another candidate instead of her, because after nominating her already, they had passed through the way. So they asked for the legal fraternity to allow them do another candidate selection. That is when they selected Mutula Kilonzo Jr., and within a week he was already he was already elected. No, already, he was already on the campaign trail, and he later won as the senator for Makueni. This is the first time a former president has been convicted. You remember, there is no way you can be taken, you can be elected as a president of the USA if you have been convicted of a criminal offense. So this is the first time that those people who were presidents were convicted. There is another incident where there was a push for former president Richard Nixon to be convicted of a crime, because what he had done when he was the president, he had committed a crime. But when when Henry Ford, who took over from Richard Nixon, the first executive order he did was to give Nixon a presidential pardon, which meant that Nixon could not be charged with a criminal offense. Otherwise, Nixon would have been the first and Trump the second. You can see that with the way the way he has been impeached, it is now unlikely that he will win the presidency. And you will find that all the 34 counts, if he were to be found guilty of only one, then he stands no chance. So what does he do now? The sentencing is 1 week after GOP. Then he is sentenced. When he is sentenced, he will have to appeal. But the process of appealing all the way up to the Supreme, he has to appeal to the Supreme Court of the state of New York. After appealing to the Supreme Court of the state of New York, he will, if he is not happy, he will have to go to the Supreme Court of the United States. By that time, already, I'm sure election will be over. So, for him, as far as the presidency is concerned, even if he wins the case at the long run, do you think that he will be ready again America would be ready for him again to contest in 4 years to come? 2028? I don't think so. So, we have just lost an opportunity where someone would have claimed, when somebody would have claimed that he was the 45th president and 47th president. So nobody can ever claim to have been president for 2 different times. With that, let us keep watching what is happening in the USA. Thank you.